So we had a new game system that was announced today, and things just to me seem to be getting kind of out of hand with the whole handheld market right now. I mean, there are already a lot of stuff that comes out in the retro scene with these handheld emulation devices, but then working all the way up to where we see the PC gaming market that if you kind of look over to Microsoft, they're working into with their ROG, Xbox, Ally X. Nintendo is drawing more and more comparisons with the Switch 2 to things like the Steam Deck. And the whole market just seems to be growing constantly. But some of the strategies I see that are being employed right now are, to me, kind of head scratching, actually. And well, that's what we're going to go over here today because the latest handheld that was announced looks pretty good on paper until you get down to the price point, and then you just have to wonder, who is this really for in the long run? That's what we'll talk about here today. So if you guys enjoyed the video, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new. So let's head over here. This is over on Lenovo's website, as they did announce the Legion Go Gen 2 8.8 inch. And it says coming soon. From what I'm seeing, we're expecting October for this thing. I think Best Buy had it listed October 31st. That's like a placeholder date, so sometime in there. And this was a big thing when they were revealing all the specifications for it, which, look, I will tell you this. The device itself, in a vacuum, without discussing price point, anything like that, hey, you know what? It's a pretty cool device. Yes, 8.8 inch, 144 hertz, pure sight OLED display with VRR. I mean, that is a nice looking screen. All right, it has the breakaway controllers, the Joy-Cons really, and you have the one that can turn into like a mouse when you put it in a little holder and move it around. There's a lot of technology being packed into this thing. It's a pretty sizable battery at 74 watt hours. You have the little fingerprint reader on the top, the kickstand, like it's all there, and it's pretty cool. It also is using the Z2 Extreme chipset from AMD. So this should give you a pretty good experience for these games in handheld play, right? So they go over everything here. Apparently, it's also getting the Microsoft experience, the Xbox OS kind of experience in 2026. So for that, it's all coming together. Great. Game Pass because it runs Windows. There's a lot of value in that. Okay, I understand. But then you start to hear about some of the drawbacks to this. One, for example, battery life. While they are using a 74 watt hour battery when you, do everything full blast, still like an hour and a half. All right. So it's not something that's going to last for a while in portable play when you're playing the more demanding games. But the biggest drawback clearly is going to come down to the price point. Okay. So this thing starts at just over $1,000, all right? And it works all the way up to just under $1,500. So you start to do the math and you go, wow, that's several Steam Decks, several Switch 2 systems. At this point, several ROG Allies. If you're going high-end to high-end, this system at its highest tier would be valued at 2 PlayStation 5 Pros after Sony increased the price to $750. And if the price you announce for your system is divisible by the PlayStation 5 Pro, you might have an issue there with sticker shock. This is sort of where we're seeing the market kind of trend towards. And this is like this should be the high watermark for the industry when it comes to PC handhelds, but we see more and more of these devices coming out, even targeting some of these higher price points. MSI has like a claw that's $1,300 or $1,400. We hear about how Xbox with Asus are trying to figure out what the price point's going to be for their Ally or Xbox Ally X or whatever. And by the way, using the same chipset as this Legion Go 2 makes me wonder if they, I'd like to think they get that thing in, and it sounds crazy, but like $900, but it might be $1,000 or more for that as well, okay? And while Lenovo does offer like their Legion Go S, that's the lower end is still $600. And the thing with this is the jump in performance seems to be negligible. Like they're using this Z2 Extreme chipset, which to me, based on some of the benchmarks, appears to just be more efficient than the Z1 Extreme in games that would draw lower amounts of power. All right. So when you're working into games like Cyberpunk, some of the benchmarks show that we're talking 3, 4, 5 frames per second. So instead of 40, you're running at 45. It's okay, great. So what I think people want to see with some of this stuff, if you're walking up with that kind of a price point and putting it in front of them, is something a bit more meaningful with the jump. So you see Legion Go 2, this is a successor to the Legion Go. Remember, that came out with a 1 terabyte storage, and that was $750. It felt expensive then too, but it still doesn't feel as expensive as, oh, we're going to the top line here and it's $1,450. That is like a deal. That's a deal ender for a lot of people out there. Like, it was fun while it lasted. It's one of the reasons we get a lot of those Aya Neo handhelds that get shown and talked about. I look at them from time to time. I'm like, could I do a video on this? And I could, but then I would spend about 15 minutes showing you a bunch of cool stuff the thing can do. Then we get to the price point of $1,200 and you go, that was fun. I'm never buying this thing. So that's one of the reasons I thought something like the Steam Deck was so intriguing, because Valve managed to get it out at $400. And they said it was difficult to do it. It's easy. It's not easy for any company to get the price point that low, but at least Valve has an incentive to do it that doesn't exist for Lenovo, for Asus, for MSI, because they don't have a storefront at the end of the whole thing that they can drive people to. They're just making the hardware to make money on that hardware, on that sale. So they're incentivized to have higher price points, but also incentivized to continue rolling out models every other year or so. I mean, we've had a couple of ROG systems released. We're getting the Xbox crossover one. We've had a couple MSIs. We've had a couple Lenovo's. So they are continuing to, I don't say rapid fire, but they're releasing them pretty frequently, right, as we've gone along. Whereas with Valve, they are on record discussing the fact that, hey, you know what? We're kind of hanging out waiting for a Steam Deck 2 because the technology just isn't there yet. And this was when they were discussing the Steam Deck OLED, which was a much more noticeable difference, upgrading the screen, not only to an OLED display, but also going up to 90 hertz for the display, which has worked well for certain games that can hit those sorts of frame rates. They say, obviously, we'd love to get even more performance in the same power envelope, but that technology doesn't exist yet. That's what I think we'd call a Steam Deck 2.0. And that's most likely why we won't see a Steam Deck 2. Some are estimating until 2027. Some have said 2028, because we need these APUs, these AMD chipsets, to really start to figure things out when it comes to memory bandwidth, which has been a pretty big sticking point for these chips. These chips are actually quite powerful, but they're just kind of limited by that memory bandwidth right now, and that's why you see some of the struggles currently. And of course, they have to figure out more and more when it comes to efficiency, because these handhelds can only draw so much power before you start talking about a 30 to 40 minute battery, and then it's like, what are we even doing here? So with all of that in mind, and some of the limitations that are currently out there around the technology powering these handhelds, to me, it seems like the right move would be, okay, we're kind of gearing this towards more of the casual consumer, but these are enthusiast devices with enthusiast pricing. If you get up over $1,000 for some of these handhelds, it starts to make me wonder, wouldn't the better play be to spend even a little more money? So let's say you're looking at this $1,500 Legion Go 2. Wouldn't it make a little more sense to take some of that money, buy a basic Steam Deck, and then spend the rest on a nice PC that you can either build or get a pre-built, and then you have the at-home nice experience with the decent setup, and then the Steam Deck to play on the go. It's just, the pricing to me just doesn't match the concept of what this whole PC gaming handheld push has been all about, which is to meet consumers with convenience and a price point that is compelling. And that's just not what I'm seeing here with some of these recent releases. So I would be more interested to see some of these companies try to tackle the $500 price point, because I think that $400 price point, while it was difficult for Valve to get there, I do think it's nearly impossible for some of these companies like an Asus and others to get to without some sort of storefront to drive people to subsidize that system and make it all make sense, because at the end of the day, they're here to make money. And well, they're taking a shot at it here with a near $1,500 Legion Go 2. It does start at $1,049, so I guess that's a bargain. It's definitely a step up from the $750 Legion Go, top of the line one that came out just a few years ago. But let me know what you guys think about this one down below. Am I completely off on this? Am I missing it? Are people out there now, are they really excited for this thing? Because I don't know, the PC gaming handheld stuff is just really getting out of hand, and it's probably going to be several years before we see Valve take a shot at a Steam Deck 2. So to me, that's going to be the benchmark. Where are we with the technology versus the pricing that's even possible for this kind of a product? Well, we'll see when Valve is ready to finally show that off and the technology, actually exists. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.